one question I've not heard you answer is, do you believe that the previous interrogation techniques were immoral?
Senator, I believe that CIA officers to whom you referred.
It's a yes or no answer. Do you believe the previous interrogation techniques were immoral? I'm not asking do you believe they were legal. I'm asking do you believe they were immoral?
Senator, I believe that CIA did extraordinary work to prevent another attack on this country given the legal tools that we were authorized to use.
Please answer yes or no. Do you believe in hindsight that those techniques were immoral?
Senator, what I believe sitting here today is that I support the higher moral standard we have decided to hold ourselves to.
Can you please answer the question?
Senator, I think I've answered the question.
No, you've not. Do you believe the previous techniques, now armed with hindsight, do you believe they were immoral? Yes or no?
Senator, I believe that we should hold ourselves to the moral standard outlined in the Army Field Manual.
Okay, so I understand that you've not answered the question, but I'm going to move on. So I understand that you, from previous answers, are serving as the authority over whether or not CIA information concerning you will be classified or not. Given an obvious appearance of conflict, will you agree to recuse yourself from the responsibility and the authority to make decisions about whether or not that information will be classified or not? Will you agree to recuse yourself of that responsibility and authority? Yes or no?
Senator, I am following the guidelines that exist at CIA, and there is another declassification authority. It's called the IRO. I have not interfered with it.
Do you believe that you have the authority to recuse yourself?
I'll take that for the record. I may have the authority to recuse myself.
Assuming
I'm not a
you
lawyer. I'm not sure about that.
Assuming you do, and I believe you do, will you agree to recuse yourself from the responsibility and the authority of making decisions about what CIA information about you and your record will be classified or declassified?
Senator, if I had agreed with the proposals that have come up because people thought it would be advantageous to me, I think I would have been abdicating my responsibility to follow the rules that everyone at CIA follows.
Okay, and you also in this hearing have a responsibility to answer the questions that are being asked of you. I'm going to ask you a different question. Would you agree that given this appearance of conflict or potential conflict around the classification or declassification of these documents, would you agree that Director Coates instead should have the responsibility for declassification decisions regarding your background?
Senator, I think one important thing is that this committee plays a unique role to review the classified record, and we have sent over every piece of paper we can lay our hands on about my classified record, all of my evaluations over a 33-year career. And I hope every senator has had the opportunity to look at that classified material.
Indeed, I have.
But
I have another question for you then, because I only have a few minutes left. I only have a few seconds left. The President has asserted that torture works. Do you agree with that statement?
Senator, I don't believe that torture works. I believe that in the CIA's program, and I'm not attributing this to enhanced interrogation techniques, I believe, as many people, directors who have sat in this chair before me, that valuable information was obtained from senior al-Qaeda operatives that allowed us to defend this country and prevent another attack.
Is that a yes?
No, it's not a yes. We got valuable information from debriefing of al-Qaeda detainees, and I don't think it's knowable whether interrogation techniques played a role in that.
Thank you. My time is up.
Very much, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Ms. Haskell.
Good morning, Senator Feinstein.
While many nominees have classified backgrounds, you are very unique. You have 30 years of undercover experience. Accordingly, we ask the agency that your records be declassified. I think I signed 3 letters in that regard, to make an informed decision, and because the public should beware of the background of its leaders. Instead, the CIA selectively declassified only small pieces of information to bolster your nomination, while keeping damaging information under wraps. Giving the CIA's refusal to make your record public, I'm very limited in what I can say. And I think, as you know, I like you personally very much. This isn't probably the most difficult hearing in my more than 2 decades I have ever sat in. But let me begin. In his memoir, former CIA Consul General John Rizzo described how in 2005, Jose Rodriguez was promoted to be Deputy CIA Director for Operations and installed as his Chief of Staff an officer from the Counterterrorist Center who had previously run the interrogation program. Is that you?
Senator, I'm so pleased you asked me that question.
Yes or no will do.
No. And for the record, if you have your staff check, Mr. Rizzo has issued a correction. It is true that it is hard for in a secret.
My understanding
that is not accurate.
Recently confirmed that it was you.
No, he issued a correction. When people write books, I didn't read Mr. Rizzo's book, so I didn't even know that was out there. Mr. Rizzo, and actually I read about it in the Washington Post last night. Eric Wemple, I believe, wrote a story talking about the failure of certain organizations to correct their facts, and that was one of them. And he noted that Mr. Rizzo, about 10 days ago, he was wrong. He didn't fact check, and that has been corrected. I would never even served in that department, nor was I the head of it.
Let me read directly his quote from the book. Several weeks later, Porter promoted Jose Rodriguez to the position of Deputy Director for Operations, Jim Pavitt's former job. Once more, Jose installed as his Chief of Staff an officer from the Counterterrorist Center who had previously run the interrogation program. Between them, they were the staunchest advocates inside the building for destroying the tapes.
Senator, I did not run the interrogation department. In fact, I was not even read into the interrogation program until it had been up and running for a year. I never served.
Were you an advocate for destroying the tapes?
Senator, I absolutely was an advocate if we could within and conforming to U.S. law, and if we could get policy concurrence to eliminate the security risk posed to our officers by those tapes. And the consistent legal
advice. Aware of what those tapes contained?
No, I never watched the tapes,
No,
but I understood that our officers' faces were on them and that was very dangerous at a time when there were unauthorized disclosures that were exposing the program.
But it also exposed how the program was conducted, because they were tapes of the actual interrogation of 92 detainees, as I understand it.
No, the tapes were recordings of only one detainee. It was 92 tapes of one detainee.
All right. Well, thank you for that. Let me, in November and December of 2002, did you oversee the enhanced interrogation of al-Nashiri, which included the use of the waterboard as publicly reported? Yes or no?
Senator, anything about my classified assignment history throughout my 33 years, we can talk about in this afternoon's classified session. There are guidelines on, as you know, existing classification guidelines, and I should go back to your first point, which is very, very important, about why we haven't declassified more about my history. There are existing classification guidelines that apply to operational activity of any officer. It has been suggested to me by my team that if we tried to declassify some of my operational history, it would help my nomination. I said that we could not do that. It is very important that the director of the Central Intelligence Agency adhere to the same classification guidelines that all employees must adhere to, because there are very good reason for those classification guidelines. Exposing operational information can be damaging to sources and methods, as you know, but there is also a physical risk to officers who go out to the far ends of the globe and conduct dangerous missions, and they believe that their participation in those dangerous missions will be protected. It would be a security risk if we started declassifying associations between CIA officers and particular terrorist or terrorist operations. So I am adhering to the existing guidelines, and I believe that it is important and that I could not stand before the CIA if I sought for short-term gain to declassify my operational history.
Thank you.
Senator's time's expired.
We will make America great again.